Okay, Louis, welcome. Louis, can I sing? Can I sing the opening to this
Would you please?
show?
I'd like to
Uh,
see
uh,
that.
the Great American. Welcome to the Great American Collectible Show. Tom Zapp and my host Lou Blasi. Now, the reason you didn't hear the opening music is there's a little backstory. You know, we have a backstory to everything. Lou last night
There was
was
a
at the
fire in the studio. No.
no. Lou was at the casino last night drinking heavily
Yeah.
and stumbled into the studio this morning and forgot to put that little segment in. Lou, is that pretty much
Yeah,
the
that's pretty
case?
much it. Yeah.
No,
I'm
we
still
had
drunk.
some we had some technical problems with the opening of the show. You guys know the music. I'm not going to sing to anybody. And Dan Wilkin used to do usually does the voiceover for that, but Dan's not here, so I did it. Welcome, Lou Blasi, Tom Zapp. Our guest today, we have two great guests. First half hour, 25 minutes. Our good friend Steve Verkman from Clean Sweep Auctions. Steve's got the Champions Auction is going on right now, and we're going to talk about that. And a little later on the show, we have Dave Kohler from SCP Auctions coming on. We're going to be talking about the Laker collection. He's got I guess the most iconic and largest Laker collection in the world. And I'm not just talking LA Lakers, we're talking going back to the Minneapolis Lakers. But
I was
let's get
wondering about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. He's got it from day one, George Mikan days,
Oh,
just
yeah.
crazy stuff. And we're going to talk to Steve too. Steve's been a big part of our book project. And going to talk. There's a little backstory to one of Steve's finds. Stephen, welcome. First of all,
thank you.
How you doing?
Oh, terrific! Thanks.
Now, listen. You have an auction, the Champions Auction. When did it start and when does it end? First of all,
It started a few weeks ago. It ends Wednesday, June 10th, and people have to have their initial bids in by 8 o'clock. So that's Wednesday, June 10th. The auction's at cleansweepauctions.com, and it's a really good one.
Yeah, I was going through it, man. You've got a little of everything. You got a lot of memorabilia. You got a lot of Ruth and Gehrig items. Can you talk about those first?
Sure, and we have the 33 Gaudy Ruth cards. There's just an unlimited market for them right now. So we have a run of lower grade Ruth cards and Gehrig cards from 33 and 34. There's a beautiful number 61 Lou Gehrig 1934 Gaudy. That's just you hold this card, you're like, wow. We have autographs. We have a 1940 Leaf Premium. We have other oversized issues. So there's a nice mix of Babe Ruth stuff in the auction.
I was going to ask you, Steve, getting back to like the 33 Gaudy Ruths, Gehrigs in a low grade, low or mid grade. Okay. Over the years, I mean, obviously, most of the collectors in the world cannot afford a PSA 8 or 9 Ruth or Gaudy. Ruth or Gehrig in the Gaudy collection. So I can't afford it. I buy a 1.5 today in 2026. Is that card going to continue to jump? So what's it going to be worth? I'm not asking you to be Kreskin, but is that card going to appreciate in 3 or 4 years?
I mean, there's no way to know. Right now, they're in enormous demand. They've appreciated a lot in just the last year. Most of the explosion in those cards is post-COVID. So they've had an enormous run. But so many new people keep coming to the hobby that want them. That's what's driving. It's not being driven by the core hobby people. This is driven by these new people. Some of them, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, are a little bit day traderish with what they're buying. They're going nuts buying these things to flip them, and that's all cool. It's a big part of the market. So just everybody and their cousin, wants these cards right now. So the market's on fire. But who knows? But they couldn't be any better now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm thinking. Go ahead, Louis. I'm sorry.
You already went into it, Steve, but I want to talk about that detail a little bit. That's kind of what the modern market has done to the vintage market. It's brought in these kind of use the quotes, day trader type of guys, and that's just bringing more money into the hobby, which is fueling appreciation, right?
Yeah, the only risk is if a whole ton of them decided to get out at the same time, you never know what could happen. In the old days, if someone would make a collection, it would sit there for 10, 20, 30 years. It would be the old 3Ds of the auction world: death, divorce, debt. You sell something, it wasn't going anywhere for a long time. Now someone buys something, it's on the market almost the next day or a week or two later, and the market, can support it. There's so many people out there looking for stuff, and it's everywhere in the country. It's not concentrated in one place. It's not a few people driving the market. The market, it's just indescribably, deep and wide right now for quality, graded vintage cards.
All right, Steve, let's get to the your opinion, and we're going to get into the auction. We've got plenty of time here. Some news came out that a couple of things, that PSA is going to kind of shut down a portion of their grading for a couple of months because, quite frankly, I think they're a little overwhelmed. I know that Pokemon has taken a big chunk of their grading. So that's on one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, they're investing $200 million, and they're going to be hiring 1,000 additional people. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I hope they do. I mean, it's just as a customer, it's frustrating because we want to get our stuff back for our consigners to put things to auction, and we don't really dip our toe into the Pokemon market, for better or worse. So we're not in that world. But it's just people want to get their stuff back, and people that sell us stuff and consign stuff to us, they're not getting their things back, and it makes it hard for everybody. But at the same time, if vintage, like a lot of the people say things like, oh, they should just spin off vintage into one niche. Well, if they do that, you're going to really hate the prices probably if they were to do that and make it its own company. Then it becomes a very boutique-y thing, which maybe it is. So it's tough. You just you hope they can get this taken care of to let everybody get their stuff so they can fool around with it.
Do you feel that's going to be the answer? I'm sorry. Do you feel that's going to be the answer, Steve? Or is there something else in the works? I mean, with a market demand like this, or with a market hole like this, usually something comes along to fill it.
Yeah, I mean, capitalism isn't working the way it's supposed to. I mean, there's nothing else really to say. I mean, that brand is so powerful, and we get our best cards, we send them to PSA. But you have other options, but the PSA brand is so much more powerful than the other options. That's the issue.
I think that if listen, it's been a bumpy road for them. We all know that, and that's because they are so big and they have so much inventory coming in. Yeah. Point being is, I think that if PSA, if it was a smooth running ship, I mean, it would be a really, really tremendous thing for the hobby if it was a smooth running ship. So hopefully they're going to work it out. Steve, autographed baseball items. You've got at least 100 in the auction. I mean, a little of everything. Can you talk about that? Autographs are still really, really hot.
Yeah, autographs are great. There's more people collecting that than ever. Also, a lot of people just sticking Hall of Famers. So we got some cool stuff. We got a Honus Wagner government postcard that the autograph is a PSA 10. We have a Ty Cobb government postcard that's a PSA 8. There's a really cool bank receipt signed by Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron that's pretty unique. We have some Mickey Mantle signed cards. Signed cards have just gone crazy. Especially the Mickey Mantle one. So we have a few of those. We have some good Perez steels. I personally love those. They're slabbed and graded. A lot of people are making that set, probably more than ever. It's a real nice mix of stuff. There's a Charles Comiskey letter. There's a Grover Cleveland Alexander letter. So a real mix of mostly vintage stuff, but a good selection of Hall of Famers that people have been bidding on a lot.
Very cool. Very cool. Basketball cards. Basketball seems, at least modern and ultra-modern basketball, really has picked up ahead of steam over the last couple of years. Are you really involved? Are you sticking pretty much with the vintage stuff on the basketball?
Well, we get it when we get it. We have one of these, we have some kind of cool PSA 10 Wemby card that's in the auctions. Hopefully I'm sure that'll get some attention at the end. But we get that stuff. We don't really get involved with like the $50,000 ones, but the good Michael Jordan stuff does really well in our auction. Everybody's looking for that. So we the modern basketball stuff, leads the modern market, I would think, by far. And it's amazing what the stuff sells for.
But I have mixed feelings about the foundation of it, of the modern basketball card market, because it seems as though it's really, really being controlled by the card manufacturers. We've talked about it in the past. You create a one of one that's card signed by Michael Jordan and LeBron James, a card signed by Wemby, and pick somebody else, anyone. I mean, what are your feelings about that? I mean, they're really creating they're creating a market. We call it manufactured rarities.
Yeah, manufactured. I was going to say manufactured memorabilia. That's what they're doing, and people want it. I mean, it's not for me to judge. It's not my cup of tea, but people love these things. They get really excited about that, and and people just go nuts over it. And these things can sell for enormous prices, especially these limited print cards. So people, they want to have the one-on-one thing. They love it because, hey, I'm the only one that has this card. Nobody else does. So
Sure.
that's the selling point, and it's a good selling point.
Good
People
point.
go nuts over them, and it's probably not going to stop. They love having something unusual and rare. It's it's the it of the collector. So that's how they that's what they market to, and people love it.
Yep.
Are you kind of forced to play the market to a certain extent? I mean, what if Wemby's a champion 2 weeks from now?
Well, the cards are going up like crazy. The problem is like how much money got spent on Zion Williamson. Like one card sold for $1 million.
That's a perfect example, man. That's a perfect example.
You never know, or Wemby could break his leg next year, or he could be the next, or he could be the next LeBron James and be bigger than
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing in baseball. I mean, how many people spent huge amounts of money on Juan DeFranco cards, when he first came out, and that went by the wayside. Steve, there was another area. Memorabilia. Seems to me that good quality vintage memorabilia has really, really, really picked up a head of steam in the hobby, baseball. Your thoughts on that? Are you seeing much more of that?
Yeah, if you get the right thing, it's like the mediocre, lesser memorabilia is a lot harder to sell than mediocre, lesser quality cards. But if you get something really good, we had some really good pins in our last auction. And our last auction, I mean, I almost couldn't believe this. We had the scorecard from the Bobby Thompson home run game, and it got $8,000. The score. Wow. So if you get good pins and good pennants and like higher quality memorabilia, obviously the game used equipment. In the last Leland's auction, a Mickey Mantle bat got $100,000. I forgot the grade. Was well above expectations for what we thought it would sell at. So it's strong as heck. But it has to be. I would say the memorabilia buyers, I'm going to get into trouble here, are a little more discriminating maybe than the card people.
Well, no, I would agree with that. I would certainly agree with that.
They won't just buy schlock. They're not going to. You can't repackage a manufactured thing. They're very smart. They're very shrewd. I used to call those people professional collectors. They know exactly what they're doing. And, the tickets have gone crazy. People want all kinds of permutations of any game Sandy Koufax won or Jackie Robinson did so-and-so in this game. So that stuff's become huge.
Well, I was reading an article about the whole ticket market. The ticket market is going to continue to escalate. Reason being, they don't get tickets anymore. They don't make them anymore. Everything is through your phone online. When you go to the ballpark, you just hold your phone up. So printed tickets, I think they're already a thing of the past, and they're continuing to rise in value.
Oh yeah, no question. But it's more specialized. Like in the old days, everyone would just want to get all the tickets for all the World Series games, and they didn't really care about regular season tickets. I'm sure we sold Clemente record home run tickets and hit games tickets for $5 and $1 over the years because there was no demand for it. Now it's become much more specialized because of the internet and grading. With games people are looking for and specialized tickets. But whereas the World Series tickets are okay, some of them have actually gone down from 30 years ago because there used to be so many collectors were trying to get every ticket, and then the stuff would sell. Honestly, better than cards, a lot better than cards. In the 90s, believe it or not.
Really.
Yeah, and then things, you had to like run a World Series tickets in the 50s, auction them off. People come, there'd be like 20, 30 people fighting over those runs, trying to fill in every ticket.
Yeah, we were just, Joe Orlando, I was talking to Joe yesterday. We've added one more item to the book. That's going to be really cool. He's got two people, it was a find. 1948 Ruth Bows Out game,
Right.
1948. He got a phone call from this couple, and they were up in their grandfather's attic, grandmother's attic. She had passed away, and they found two unused tickets to that game, to the Babe Ruth Bows Out game. And I think there's only been 2 other ones that have been authenticated, just authentic, and these 2 graded out at an 8 and a 9. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a cool story. Steve, what about unopened packs? Are you getting much into unopened packs? It seems to be really red hot right now.
Oh yeah, totally. Unopened stuff is great. It's super liquid. We love it. You know, we just submitted 100 packs yesterday from going back to the 1950s. You know, that stuff does great. We have a couple 1966 sell-out packs in the current auction. There's a 79 wax box. Just to circle back and be a tiny bit self-promotional. 2 cards worth mentioning in the auction next week. And so far the bidding hasn't been crazy, but that's with 8 days to go. There's a Collins McCarthy Ty Cobb, which is a really, really rare card that never comes up. Only 11, I think, total have been graded, or at least in the grade it's in. And there's also a standard biscuit Honus Wagner, which is these are cards you just never see. So collectors looking for, like, you know, really, you know, pre-war stuff that's very exotic and special. You know, we should really take a look at, you know, those 2 cards in particular.
You know, you've been a big help, you and everybody else. Actually, we've kind of reached out to everybody, you know, asking about you know, some of the finds that you guys were involved with. And one of the stories that you told us about was actually I remember you specifically telling me that it was the launching pad really for Clean Sweep Auctions for you. You were a young kid. Can you tell us about the 3,600 card find?
Sure. So I went to school in Washington, D.C. and like all good card people, I was buying and selling stuff in college and doing shows and things. I met some people, and there was a gentleman, a heavy hitting real estate guy who loved to wear all the jewelry and the rings and everything else. He was a cool guy. He was a good customer of mine, and he passes away all of a sudden at a relatively young age. And I knew him and his son, and they called me up and they said, "Steve, you don't understand. We started collecting in 1974." I'm like, "Well, how much stuff do you have?" He goes, "You're not going to believe it." So I go over to see them in Maryland. They had 3,500 T206s, and that was the tip of the iceberg. There were I think 40 Ty Cobbs. I made 2 sets. There were maybe 500 Southern Leaguers, but at the time they weren't that easy to sell. I mean, I actually wholesaled 1,000 of them in decent condition.
Can you
$10, like $10 each, and had to give the person 6 months to pay. Like it was just a different world. I mean, I did well with it. I don't remember the rarebacks weren't as big of a deal. Let's say. I don't know, that wasn't that far back. Very few people were doing it.
Now, how old were you when all this transpired?
I was 24, and before that, I was doing okay doing shows, but that was really my launching pad. And also, there were 52 Topps cards in there. There were books of caramel cards, and there were There was a T207 set -10. At that time, that was worth far more than the T206 set.
Did you keep any of them?
I a few pieces here and there. I mean, I didn't keep that stuff. I don't collect the tobacco cards. I mean, I probably should have, but I didn't. But some of them were really high grade.
Well, wait a minute. How many Cobbs did you have?
There were at least 40. I mean, it was crazy. There might have been like 70 Lajoie. So I had the cards for years, and I'd come to shows sometimes. I'd have 10 each of some of the Hall of Famers. And it was a lot of fun. I didn't grade them at the time. Grading was barely existed then.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember when I started, I was collecting T206 cards, and I was paying $15-$18 a card at the time, raw. And I mean, obviously, those prices have gone up dramatically. Hockey cards. You've got a lot of hockey cards. You're not a hockey guy, are you?
I mean, I have to say, I don't know much about the sport, but I just think the cards are cool, and I just know it from trading with it. And I think it's interesting. Like, I feel like the card companies for the hockey cards worked harder to make the design and graphically more interesting, because maybe they're going to be harder to sell. Like, they look cooler, and sometimes the football cards too. Like, I feel like they worked harder on the Bowman football cards than the baseball cards and the hockey cards. So I like the design of it. I think the cards are cool and the players are cool, but I'm far from any kind of hockey expert. But we have a Bobby Orr signed rookie card in the auction.
Very cool.
Some really big groups of signed cards. There's a 1998 O-Pee-Chee set with something like 600 different signed cards, including Gretzky and Orr, that someone got in person. So we've always done very well.
You're piquing Lou's interest.
Is the Bobby Orr card period signed, or was it signed later? Do you think?
It was signed later, but I mean, it's still a big deal. So that
yeah.
So that's a big thing. But hockey cards, they always do really well. You don't see them as much. I mean, years ago, actually, another find I could have told you about. Years ago, when I went to that show in Toronto a million years ago, I think I once bought 500 of the C55s and 6s and 7s.
Wow.
From George Vezina's grandson.
Oh,
my
really?
God.
Jeez.
Yeah. And at the time, those weren't so easy to sell at that time either. I mean, we've since re-auctioned them, and from some people who bought it from us and reconsigned them. But now they'd be worth a fortune. But yeah, that was an exciting one too.
I'm always surprised how in some markets they're not much stronger, because hockey has that shared history like baseball. You can go back, and if you're a hockey fan, we grew up in Boston. If you grew up in Montreal, if you grew up in Chicago, you go back generations with some of those older hockey players like gods, just much like baseball.
Well, I think in Canada, Lou, I think the market's pretty hot in Canada. I think it's always been hot. I can't remember. There's an auction house that really just specializes. They're like almost like the heritage of hockey up in Canada. I can't remember. Is it Classic Auctions, Steve?
Yeah, that might be right. But I'll tell you this, though. When we get good hockey stuff, most of 90% of the time, it stays in the U.S. because I know maybe the Canadian guys don't want to pay the tariff or the duty.
That's interesting.
One time we bought years ago, I bought from a really nice guy. I paid like $50,000 for a PSA 8 54 Topps hockey set. I mean, it's insane. And I made money. And that one I remember, some guy in Saskatchewan spent like $35,000 on like 10 of the cards. I guess the 10 toughest eights. And I was so worried about getting paid. But, the guy covered it. I'm like, this guy in Saskatchewan is buying these cards. It's crazy.
Listen, we have a couple of minutes left. Okay, go ahead, Louis. I'm sorry.
Talk to me about the economics, your conversations with consigners about unopened product and complete sets, because I know there's an equation going on there. With the unopened products, it's kind of a gamble, but the market may support it. But with complete sets, there's a couple cards in there that are pretty valuable. So what are the conversations like economically for whether to break up complete sets and open packs or sell them unopened and complete?
Well, we don't ever open and high quality unopened stuff. We're not gamblers. I mean, I believe it or not, I can't remember the last time a consigner even thought about us doing that. But in terms of complete sets, that's always a tough call. So we just took in amazing collection last week, like the most interesting collection I've ever had. So like there's T206 set, your T205, T207, T3, and it's such a tough call whether to break those things up, into like 5 or 10 or 20 lots, or just leave it as a set. So we agonize over these decisions sometimes with our consigners. And ultimately, you want to do what the consigner wants. So if the consigner wants a set to stay whole, unless you feel incredibly compelled to break it up, you try to do that. But yeah, it's a tough call, because a lot of the time you make these great sets, but selling it as a set financially may not be the right way to do it. Good point.
Steve, we got a couple of minutes left. What are some of the other highlights in the auction before we let you go?
So yeah, so we got this enormous autograph card collection. So there's situations like where there's an upper deck set where it's 700 of the different cards are signed. There's another card that's on fire right now, the 48 leaf Jackie Robinson. So we have 2 of them that are fresh.
That's a cool card.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. So there's a PSA 3 and an authentic altered. There's a Satchel Paige 48 leaf. That's a PSA authentic altered, which I think is all right, but that's something else. There's a really nice PSA 5 Hal Newhouser rookie card 48 leaf, which is rare. There's a great run of the Mayo cut plugs with most of the Hall of Famers, and you just don't see that. So we have just about a near set we're breaking up. We're waiting to get the rest of the cards graded, but almost all the high-end Hall of Famers are run as singles. So those cards, are just awesome.
Fabulous. Your website address is?
It's cleansweepauctions.com. That's cleansweepauctions.com. Just remember, initial bids have to be in by 8 o'clock. The auction ends on Wednesday, June 10th.
All right, so that is 1 week from today. The auction ends, Steve. We're going to see you at the National, right?
Of course. Never going to miss that.
We'll stop by. Steve Verkman, Clean Sweep Auctions, wishing you the best. And again, thanks so much for the help in the book. We've got a couple of your great stories that are going to be going in. We've submitted everything pretty much to the publisher. They're going to pick and choose, but I think we're in good shape. Thanks, Steve. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a quick break, Lou, at your convenience, as I'm talking to waste time so that you can do what you have to do.
Just throw it to break and we'll go.
Okay. We're going to take a break. We will be right back.
Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, mile high. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
For more than 30 years, Robert Edward Auctions has been the industry leader when it comes to helping you realize the most money for your baseball cards and sports memorabilia. In addition to their unparalleled reputation for honesty and integrity, they reach the largest number of bidders in the business and offer lower seller's fees, as well as generous cash advances up front on your valuable material. Contact them today at 908-226-9900. That's 908-226-9900 or at robertedwardauction.com.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Now look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back. And again, there's no music. And the reason there's no music is because Lou put it all together. Is David with us?
He was here. He dropped off.
Oh, okay. I'm sure.
Probably be back in a second.
I'm sure Dave will be back. Dave Kohler from SCP Auctions. I got to tell you, Lou, I have to pay you a tremendous compliment. Again, I like to hang out on Dirty Laundry. It's always fun. Prior to coming on the show, I got a call from Lou, maybe 20 minutes, a half hour before the show came on.
A little longer than that, but yeah.
He said, Houston, we have a problem. I said, what's the problem? And he said the main computer in the studio crapped out. So I said, okay, then I'll contact Dave and I'll contact Steve, and we'll have to run the show at another time. Anyways, make a long story short, Lou, with his technological skills, was able to piece it together. Lou, I'm very impressed. Only thing that's missing, the opening, the music, the opening and the closing of the show. And you never know. Maybe we can edit that in later on. So you did a great
working
job.
on a 90s vintage laptop here, so
that's just tremendous. All right. Welcome, David Kohler from SCP Auctions. David, really, you're one of the pioneers in this hobby. You do realize that, right?
Well, I've heard that a couple times, and that means I'm getting old, I guess. But yeah, I started this all in 1978, 79.
Unbelievable, Dave. You've handled some of the most iconic pieces in the history of the hobby. Let's talk about your collection first. For those of you that most of the people in the hobby knows that Dave owns the greatest Lakers collection on the planet, and I was remiss in the show notes as saying the greatest Los Angeles Lakers collection, but no, he goes back to the mini app to George Mikan, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it starts from the beginning of the Laker franchise in the late 40s. Of course, you mentioned George Mikan, so the Lakers were the first dynasty in professional basketball, winning 6 championships from the late 40s through the 50s. And so the collection I have that I started about 40 years ago, my personal collection, obviously, I own SCP Auctions, that we do auctions and private sales to the biggest collectors in the world. But on the private end, I built what we call the Lakers Shrine. Starts with Minneapolis Lakers, all the way through from when the Lakers went to Los Angeles in 1960, and certainly all through the years, the Jerry West era, Elgin Baylor, Showtime, Magic Johnson, Kareem, and that whole gang. And of course, then we get to the Shaq and Kobe era, and you fast forward to what we have now with Luka and LeBron James.
I know. I mean, talk about a storied franchise. Let's talk about the collection first. Can you highlight? What's behind you is absolutely incredible. Without talking about the jersey yet, what are some of the highlights of your collection?
It's all encompassing. It includes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of game-worn jerseys that I've collected. Again, from the beginning, I have George Mikan's collection with his game-worn jersey from his championship year.
Good.
Photo match and all documented, all the way through every name. I've got all the jerseys. I've got awards, trophies, the biggest Kobe Bryant collection, game-worn shoes, Kareem's goggles, Kobe's cast when he broke his arm. I mean, you name it, I probably have it when it comes to Lakers.
Now, it's not open to the public, or is it? There were rumblings that I heard that at some point in time you were considering maybe a museum of some sort, or was that a rumor?
Yeah, eventually that could happen. There's been a couple times over the years where the Lakers have taken 50 or 100 pieces and displayed them, kind of a temporary pop-up museum, so to speak. So eventually we'll see what happens here. There's some new ownership now, controlling ownership with the Lakers, who very much value their history of this team and all the championships and all the Hall of Fame players they've had. So we'll see where that goes. But right now it's private. When
you and I were talking on the phone, I don't know, maybe a month ago, you had just seen the Jerry West documentary, and you couldn't say enough about it. You highly recommended it. The next night, Ellen and I sat in our living room and we watched that. It was spectacular. As a matter of fact, I got emotional. I'm not even a Laker fan. I'm a Celtics guy, and there were times in that documentary that I got emotional. It's just an incredible life that guy had, both good and bad. And I didn't realize, Dave, how much he suffered. And again, Lou and we grew up in Boston, and I think a lot of it, from what I've read, a lot of it did have to do with, him suffering all those losses to the Celtics in those championship games. Is that kind of what happened?
That's part of the story, certainly. Jerry was very a different guy. I got to know him. He visited the Lakers Shrine many times. I did business with him I mean, he was my hero when I was a youngster. I wanted to be Jerry West and play for the Lakers when I was 10 years old.
Such a great player.
So, but there's a lot of that documentary is amazing. In fact, a lot of the artifacts that they show him wearing in that documentary I own of Jerry West, jackets and jerseys and all that. But certainly his upbringing in West Virginia was very hard on him with his dad and losing his brother in the Korean War. And so he just dived into basketball, obviously losing a lot of finals games to the Celtics, as you mentioned, the 60s. And eventually he won as a player in 1972. But then he went and started a whole career becoming one of the best, executives ever in the history of professional basketball, as the president GM of the Lakers through all the 80s. And, obviously was the architect of getting Kobe Bryant and trading for him, for the pick for him, and bringing, Shaq away from Orlando, and consequently winning 3 championships in 2000, the three-peat. So he was.
Then he did it. Then he did it all over again with Golden State, didn't he? With Steph Curry and that crew.
Yeah, exactly. And
that was the takeaway for me from the whole documentary. But it shined a light on him as an executive, which I had no idea.
I agree. Lou, did you see it?
He was. I watched it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think
that was amazing. Actually,
the entire world has underestimated what kind of an executive he was. He was. I mean, you're right. He was step by step. He with Red Auerbach, the greatest. I mean, he did a hell of a job.
Well, there's a reason why he's in the Hall of Fame 3 times. As a player, as an executive, and also on the 1960 Olympic team. That team went in, so he went in. So he's in there 3 times, 3 rings, Hall of Fame. And let's not forget, he's the logo.
Yeah,
I mean, that says it all right there.
The logo.
And the documentary was, I loved it because Jerry was he was very shy in respect to media and things like that. He just was very uncomfortable with it. But when you watch this, as you guys did, you can see where he was willing to get interviewed. He didn't know he was going to pass away a year later, and sharing a lot of home videos, just a lot of things that no one's ever seen before.
Yeah, it was a great documentary. We really enjoyed it. So let's talk about, you have, I mean, your collection is absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
When we called you up and spoke to you, I said, Dave, I really want to enter you. I want to include you in our private collectors section of the book, besides some of the other stories that we talked about. So I asked you, I says, what is the one prized possession, the Mona Lisa of your collection? And you said, without a doubt, Jerry's rookie jersey. And I think you have it with you, number one. And can you give us the backstory there?
Yeah. So in 1960, Jerry was obviously a rookie, first year when the team came to LA. That was Jerry's first year. Oscar Robertson was drafted 1. West was number 2, and the Lakers had the number 2 pick that year. So it coincided with the first year in Los Angeles. So that was Jerry's rookie year. And actually those uniforms that year, the home and road, were actually a unique style that year. The next year in 61 to 66, they similar blue and white jersey before they went to the purple and gold that we know of today. But in 60, they had a unique style. So that was kind of always my holy grail if I could ever find that. No one even knew one existed. Jerry didn't own it. Homer Road, none had ever been seen in any collection anywhere. And I was able to find years ago a former ball boy in the early 60s had the jersey, and I was able to structure a deal. And
again, Lou, that's a good backstory,
It's excellent, yeah.
And can you give us a little more info, because you flew out there. By that time, the ball boy was an older man, obviously. And how did he get it? Did Jerry just give it to him?
Yeah, Jerry actually gave it to him when he was a ball boy after his first year, rookie year. And so it's a fabulous piece. I actually have it here if you want to take a look at it. It's
we'd love to. If you can,
we all talk about the cards, right? So the 63 Fleer card which has the rookies of Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain and Elgin Baylor and all these others. Jerry's wearing his rookie jersey on the 63 Fleer card, which is actually this jersey right here.
Yeah, this
Oh
is
my
44.
gosh, that's
so
wild.
cool.
And that's
So
the first
cool.
year, 1960. This is the home. Very simple on the back, West. 44 with a larger number. So he wore this every home game the first year at the sports arena back then, and including playoffs. No one's ever seen the road jersey. And I'll tell you something that's really interesting is there's never been found, because I would have bought it for my collection, there is no other 1960 home jerseys of Lakers ever been seen of all the other players. Not
Amazing.
of a nobody. No one's ever seen the home. This is the only surviving one, unless another player shows up someday. No one's ever seen one.
That's
Of all
crazy.
all the basketball collectors, all the auctions, all the players, no one's ever seen it. I think they probably got thrown out other than this one here that we have. That's Jerry's.
Dave, I know that there have been many articles written about your collection and your love of the Lakers. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. Who is your starting five? Your starting all-time Minneapolis / Los Angeles Lakers starting five?
Wow. Well, that's a great question because we have so many greats.
And it's
I
like
mean,
us with the Celtics, right, Lou? It's the
Yeah.
same thing. You've got
Yeah.
15 guys that you're picking from.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear yours, Dave.
Well, guard is the guard's easy. Magic Johnson, point guard, shooting guard, Kobe Bryant.
Geez, I
That's
can
easy.
almost do this.
Awesome.
That's easy for me. I'm old school, so I would love to put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at center, and then I want to put Wilt Chamberlain over at forward, but they're both centers because I'm very fond of Wilt Chamberlain too. So that's a hard one. And then you've got the forward positions. That's really hard.
You got Elgin Baylor. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah,
right?
Elgin Baylor, of course. I always think of James Worthy a little bit later. Who
Kurt
really
Rambis in there anywhere?
Who?
Kurt Rambis?
Ramos, I can't. With all respect to Kurt, he can't. He's not top five. But we had so many great players, and then later on, Gasol was us, and then we got Shaq. I mean, center you got Shaq, Abdul-Jabbar, and Wilt, and then of course early years you got Mikan.
Right.
It's kind of hard to say when you say top five.
You know what's amazing? It really is when you think about it. I still don't have an answer as to why the Lakers lost to the Celtics that many times, because on paper, player for player, they were as good as or better. They really were. I don't know if Bill Russell was the catalyst there. Listen, they were great players, but that the Lakers team was good.
I think it was the leprechaun that was kind of hanging over.
Could have been.
The whole time.
No, it was Red turning up the heat in the clubhouse. That's what it was.
Yeah. Red used to do that. Was it the '68 team that won? Which was it? The '68 team that won? That was a dominating team. Was it the '68 team?
Lakers.
Yeah.
72. So 72 was a very special team.
That was Chamberlain, West, Baylor.
Yes.
Like Gail Goodrich was on that team. Yeah.
Gail Goodrich was the leading scorer that year. Chamberlain, Bill Sharman was the Hall of Fame coach that year, and Sharman told Chamberlain, "Listen, we want you to concentrate more on defense and rebounding. If you can do that, we got the scoring covered." And Wilt at first didn't really take to that at first. And the other thing Sharman instituted was game day shoot-arounds, which Wilt did not want to do. That was unheard of for professional teams back then. But they started that game day shoot-around. Wilt started concentrating on defense, and then they won 33 games in a row.
Oh, man.
Which is a record in professional American sports. No team has ever done that in baseball, football, basketball. And then they go on to beat the Knicks in a 5-game series. And Elgin Baylor only played about a dozen games that year.
Was that the last year of his career?
Yeah. So he got a ring, which I actually have his ring from the 72 season, but he only played less than a month or so, and his knees he had to retire. And so then Jerry West and Gail Goodrich were really the scorers. And Pat Riley was on that team. Happy Hairston.
Right, Pat Riley. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and they were 69-13 that year going into the playoffs. So, that was a great year. And finally, Jerry got his first ring as a player.
You can hang with us for a few more minutes.
Sure.
Okay, Louis, why don't you? He's got a collection behind him, and I'm sure it's insured. Speaking of insurance, why don't you talk about our good friend Tom Finkelmeyer and Finkelmeyer Insurance?
I forgot we got live reads. Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency has been insuring collectibles since the early 80s. The late Tom Finkelmeyer wrote the original sports memorabilia insurance policy when no one else in the industry was insuring collectibles. A lifelong collector of sports cards, Tom Sr. instilled the love of collecting in Tom Jr., the current president of Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency. Tom Finkelmeyer Jr., with 3 decades of insurance experience, has paired that expertise with 50 years of collecting. With a litany of professional designations, including counseling and risk management, Tom covers every aspect of your collectibles insurance needs. Unlike some of the companies that sell collectibles insurance directly to the consumer online, Finkelmeyer Insurance Agency is the only independent retail agent who specializes in sports memorabilia and collectibles nationwide. Representing all major companies that sell collectibles insurance, there's no agent that insures more collectors, dealers, appraisers, auctioneers, or events in the collectibles hobby than Finkelmeyer Insurance. Our good friend and hobby legend John Tovey of JT Sports has been using Finkelmeyer Insurance for over 20 years. For more information, go to thefia.com. That's Finkelmeyer Insurance, where collecting is our passion.
And I want to talk about one more. 1,000 vendor tables, 3 days. The biggest card show in the Northeast comes to Marlborough, Massachusetts this month. The Northeast Sports Card Expo takes place June 26th through the 28th at the Four Kicks Sports Complex. 3 full days across 150,000 square feet, packed with sports cards, Pokemon, TCG, memorabilia, and more. 1,000 tables means a lot to dig through. Vintage cards, modern cards, Pokemon, you name it, it's going to be there. Card grading services will be available all weekend, along with autograph authentication with JSA. Plus, meet more than 50 autograph guests. Every paid admission includes 1 free autograph from each celebrity guest, redeemable during their scheduled appearance times. Get your tickets now. And it's more than just cards. Trade night over 2 nights, raffles, World Series trophies, mascots, food trucks, and more all weekend long. Plus, a different commemorative show poster will be given away to the first 200 attendees. General admission, $20. Early entry and super entry options are also available. And, of course, kids get in free if they're 12 years or younger. That's the Northeast Sports Card Expo, June 26th through June 28th in Marlborough, Mass. Go to northeastcardsexpo.com. I want to ask you, because we have a couple of minutes left, Dave, and I want to ask you, one of the sections of the book we're doing is called Lost Treasures. And we kind of, we put our heads together and kind of investigated some of what we called the lost treasures that were never found. We thought that would be kind of a fun thing. One of which is the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point basketball. Any ideas on that piece of memorabilia and that game? I mean, the guy scored 100 points. There's no footage. I believe there's no footage of that game, correct?
No, there's no footage of it. That's a great question. No one's ever seen that ball. I bought Wilt Chamberlain's collection from him many years ago. I had a lot of his, and I still have a few pieces from the Philadelphia Warriors. Most of what I kept, of course, is Lakers. And I asked him where the ball was, and he said he had no idea. And there's different theories. Some people said that a kid grabbed the ball after the game, and then other people said the ball was taken into the locker room and autographed. But it's never been found, and that definitely would be, Mona Lisa of if that's ever surfaced and has the provenance and authentication and all that. What I do have actually that's not the 100-point ball, but in my collection is when Wilt set the all-time scoring record for total points of a player in 1966. I have that ball that I got from him that's inscribed on there as such, with a photo of him holding it in the locker room afterward. Pretty cool piece. But cool it's not the 100-point ball.
How did you get, David? Let's take a step back to the very beginning. I know you've been in this hobby, and by the way, I was telling Lou, you handled the Mona Lisa of cards. You sold the T206 McNall Gretzky card, didn't you?
Yeah, the PSA 8 Hannes Wagner. We sold that back in 2007 for $2.85 million to Mr. Ken Kendrick. That's the owner of the Diamondbacks, who still owns that card, and it's worth about 20 times that now.
He will never. He told me his last words to me were back in February. He sat down with his family, his son and his family, and he made them promise that they would never ever get rid of the card. That card is gonna go through his family archives for years and years and years. But how did you get into it, David? I'm talking the Lakers portion of it, way back. I mean, obviously you must have been a Lakers fan growing up as a kid.
Yeah, I was. I got in the business. I collected cards when I was young. I started buying and selling cards when I was a teenager, and going to shows and opened a store when I was 21. But then on the side, obviously, I was a Laker fan growing up in Southern California. I was born in Inglewood, right down the street from where the Forum was. So it was in my blood, so to speak. And just watching the games on TV, I didn't, we couldn't really afford to go to games back then. But once in a while, I got to go to a game. But, couldn't have season seats or anything. Just following the Lakers. Jerry West was my hero when I was young. And then 1980 Showtime, loving Magic Johnson and Lakers winning 5 out of 10 championships during that decade, and just following them all the way along. And some point in the mid 80s, as I'm trading all the baseball cards and sports cards, I said, it'd be kind of cool maybe if I could find a Magic Johnson game worn jersey, or maybe a Jabbar. That was my first thought on this. And then that's kind of where this started. And then I went to a show one day and someone had a Minneapolis Laker team signed photo that I bought for, I don't know, $300 or something way back in the old days. And I thought that was so cool. And that was kind of the start of all this.
Interesting. Really.
40 years later.
I'm sorry, Dave. Can I take you back to your interactions with Wilt? Because in my lifetime, there have been 2 athletes who have reached mythological proportions because they weren't particularly outgoing. They weren't particularly in the press all the time, but there are lots of stories about them. And the 2 of them, interestingly enough, are Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain.
That's true. Good point.
Talk to me about your interactions with Wilt and what he was as a personality, and what, if you can, what did he think of Bill Russell?
I didn't really talk to him about Bill Russell. We are, it was really more on business, our interactions of me getting his collection. And then I went back later because I wanted him to autograph a bunch of his stuff, his game worn jerseys. I had some of his plaques, like the Sporting News MVP awards, and some basketballs, and some things that he had, some photos. And he was very nice about that. In fact, that was later. So I got a lot of his stuff in 1995 and 96. And then they had a show out here a few years later, and I brought as much as I could, and I arranged in the back room to have him sign all this stuff. And I couldn't bring it all. I brought as much as I could and sat down with him. He signed it. I remember he was eating a hot dog on the side there. But unfortunately, that was September of 1999, and literally 6 weeks later, he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, it was a thrill to get to meet him and have some interactions. And later on, he sold me after 1996, he sold me his, the 50th litho, the top 50 players.
Yeah.
I got his litho from him, which I still have.
Nice.
And some things like that.
Were you a UCLA fan?
I would follow him.
Like when Alcindor played and Billy Walton, did you follow them at all?
I did slightly, not as much as really the Lakers. back then. I was still in that early 70s. I was, 10, 11 years old. So
a young pup. Awesome.
Yeah.
Dave,
Yeah.
I can't tell you, man, this has been a real pleasure for us.
Yeah.
For you to come on. It's been really enlightening. You have a spectacular collection. And for those of you, we've got some great, we're not going to give them away, but in our forthcoming book, there's some great stories that and pieces that have gone through SCP Auctions, some great finds that have gone through SCP Auctions that are in the book. One that sticks out, we're not going to get into the specifics, but the laws of baseball. Very cool story behind that. And you've handled some really, really cool stuff. You know what's interesting too, Dave? And I think I spoke to you about it. And I was talking to, I think it was Chris Ivy about it too, that it seems as though there's a lot of stories from a lot of collectors that we've incorporated into the book. And for some reason, many of them trickle down to SCP Auctions or Heritage Auctions.
Yeah.
Like, it's just amazing how you read the story and then it wound up with either you or Heritage or Josh Evans at Leland's. Just interesting stuff.
Yeah, well, we're on our, I'm going to be 65 in a few months. So, I've been doing this for in the business, about 47 years. So when you've done it that long and you've been in the thick of all of it as this industry's grown leaps and bounds, we've been very fortunate to be involved in some of the greatest transactions, some of the greatest finds in baseball memorabilia, basketball, and all that. And of course, I've had a ton of fun with my personal collection. So one thing I did want to add is to your viewers, if they have interest, if you on Instagram or TikTok, I do. It's called @LakersShrine. Shrine being the museum. 2 S's in the middle. @LakersShrine. You can see hundreds of videos that we've done on the collection, the historical. So your viewers may want to,
Absolutely.
check that out.
Absolutely.
Is LeBron a Laker next year, Dave?
Good question. I have no read on that.
Is Bronny a Laker next year?
Bronny will be a Laker next year. They have him for another year. So if you want my suggestion, what they should do is, if I was LeBron, I would say, I'm going to stay. I'm going to play for like a very minimum salary. So you can take, which these players don't do, but I'm going to take minimum salary. You can take all this extra money and go get all these players. Now, this is coming from a Laker fan. And then, he's built a big house out here. He can stay. His son's on the team. He's golfing now. So, you can golf in December and January in Southern California. You can't do that in Cleveland. So we'll see where this all goes.
Well, TB12 did that, Lou, remember?
Yeah.
TB12 did that a couple of times. Yeah, for a long time, he took big pay cuts and they just, pushed it out. All right, David, I can't thank you enough for coming on board. We hope to get you on again. Louis, I got to tell you something, man. You did. I can't believe you patched this together. You did a great job.
Well, wait a second. We got to do the second break and then come back and.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. But we'll let David go.
Yeah.
Dave, thanks so much again for coming on board, and we'll see you down the road. We're going to take a quick break, and we shall be right back.
Thank you. All the best.
Take care.
Specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden Auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Okay, we are back. Lou, we are back. Lou, I got to say something, man. You did a great job, as I mentioned prior to the commercials. I highly recommend that when you leave the studio today, you go have a cocktail somewhere on me.
I'm going to drop a match and leave the studio.
Next week, Rico will be back with us. I believe we will be in the studio, provided that the computer is back up and running, which we have all the faith in the world, Lou, in you, as you know.
Have there been two teams? I was trying to think about this. Has there been two teams more historically closely connected than the Lakers and the Celtics?
No, I would. No, because you can't talk Red Sox Yankees. That's been one-sided. In football. No. I mean,
Cowboys Packers initially, but
maybe
not
at the
since.
very beginning for a couple of years. But
Dodgers Yankees maybe, but not for a long
I mean,
time.
and you can't say Bruins Canadiens.
No.
No, you may be. I don't know. You're the hockey guy. What about the Maple Leafs and Canadiens? No,
not for a century.
No, exactly.
Yeah. But they're so closely. The history is so closely entwined. They're just so closely entwined.
If you look at I've looked at these numbers on numerous occasions. You look at those two teams, the Lakers and the Celtics, over the course of all of those years, and he mentioned the luck of the Irish. He could be right, because those Laker teams, man, they had some dynamite players. But you know what? I think part of it was
even personally. You got Russell and Chamberlain. You got Bird and Johnson. You got even players got paired up so close. They're so intertwined in each other's history.
But I really think for all those Russell championships, I really think he was in Chamberlain's head. I think that had a lot to do with it.
I think Red was in everybody's heads too, including the Celtics.
Yeah, he was. Great days. I saw some great games when I was a kid. Laker games, Celtics games. I was a young kid. Actually, it wasn't that young. I was in high school, and Dennis Murphy and I, we both played basketball at Austin Prep. About 4 or 5 times over the course of the season. Remember, the Celtics had Sunday afternoon games. We would take the train from Andover to the Garden, and buy a ticket for $3 and go up in the high bleachers for $3. Watch that. Lou, great job to our viewers and listeners. Thank you all for the support. Now, there's not going to be any music going out, Lou.
No.
Correct?
It's going to be a silent ending.
All right, because I was thinking about singing, but I don't think I'm going to.
By all means, go right ahead.
No, I'll pass. With that being said, we love you guys, and happy collecting.